What is Alabama's floor this season when it comes to their record? What is their ceiling? Well, in my opinion, I'm going to go straight Michael Jordan. I think the ceiling is the roof.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Thanks for making this your first listen every day, and thank you, Gametime, for being the sponsor of this here podcast. Jimmy, Bama Online, your cohorts over there came up with what are the ceilings and the roofs for all the respective SEC teams. And every time I see ceiling or roof, I cannot help but think about what Michael Jordan said when asked about some team. He said, what's the ceiling for this team? He goes, the ceiling is the roof. And that is one of those questions that I could sit in front of a reflecting pond and just ponder upon for years and years and years. Because honestly, it's hard to tell exactly where the ceiling begins and the roof ends, or vice versa. So I don't know, but I do like it, and I'm going to use it forever. But I thought that it was interesting that your guys over there talking about ceilings and roofs. There was obviously for Alabama. Let's just start there. They talked about that. Okay, it's national championship, and I think they had the floor at 9-3. Now, I'm like you. What you said the other day, I 100% agree with this. Like if you're saying, Luke, what's the ceiling for this team? I go national championship. What's the floor? I'd probably go 9-3. But when somebody else says it, it kind of pisses me off.
Like, you think maybe the floor should be 10-2?
Well, I mean, I think other people should think the floor should be 10-2. I think Alabama fans can say the floor is 9-3.
We haven't finished 9-3 since 2010. We haven't had 3 losses since 2010. So I think going below 9-3 would be kind of outrageous. But the schedule is really tough. This schemes are brand new on offense and defense. You could always have injuries. Believe it or not, I would say the floor is more like 8-4. I just don't think that's going to happen. But it's foreseeable to me because for Alabama to finish 8-4, that to me is a home loss to Georgia. I mean, that wouldn't be stunning. And then road losses. Alabama has not played great on the road the last 2 or 3 seasons. And now you're going on the road to LSU, where they lost last time they played, Tennessee, where they lost last time they played, and Oklahoma in November. That's not going to be a walk in the park. I could see Alabama losing all those games. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. That's not going to be my official prediction. But in terms of what could happen, I would buy 8-4 myself. But I'm with you on the ceiling. The ceiling is a national championship. I think this team's capable of doing that based on how close they were a season ago.
I can buy you saying 8-4. In fact, I thought 8-4, and I said I can't really get to that. So I'm going to say 9-3. I just feel like, look, if you don't like Kalen DeBoer as a coach, if you're like a rival listening to this and you don't like Kalen DeBoer, at least respect the man. I mean, he's done incredible work. So I think 9-3 might really be the legit floor. But yeah, if you're asking me, hey, could it get to 8-4? Of course it could. But I'm telling you, Jimmy, there's something about today. I'm listening to Dusty and Danny in the morning, and oddly, Danny wasn't on there. EJ Manuel was, who I think has just as much hate for the SEC as Danny Cannell does. And EJ Manuel, they were talking about the new CBS Top 25 that was put out that we talked about on yesterday's podcast. And they was like, who do you think's too high or too low? And he said, I just can't. He said, I don't know why Alabama's bothering me at number 5. It's just bothering me. And he said, I can't really point to why, but I don't like them there. And I'm thinking, we hadn't earned enough respect to, I mean, where do you want to put them? You want to put them at 6? And here's the other thing that he said. He said, in fact, I kind of think I should have Missouri and Ole Miss ahead of them. Really? What have they done? I mean, Alabama's done more than them.
It really is crazy. To have Alabama low, Luke, to have Alabama low in the top 10, you have to be saying Alabama's going to drop off after Saban. There's going to be a drop off, because where has the drop off? Alabama won the national championship in 2020. In 2021, they lost in the national title game. In 2022, they did not make the playoff. However, they had an argument to make the playoff and beat the heck out of somebody that beat a playoff team, finished number 5, and frankly should have been top 4, especially in retro. I think a lot of fans now admit, Alabama was probably better than TCU in 2022, which is what I was saying the whole time. Now, 2023, you do make the Final Four, you lose in overtime to the national champion. Alabama should have finished number 2. Instead, they inexplicably finished number 5. What the heck was up with that? But regardless, Alabama has not fallen out of the top 5 since winning the national championship in 2020. If you're starting Alabama lower than 5, that's you saying this team is going to drop off because Saban is no longer there. And if that's your take, that's totally fine. But we'll see. We'll see. I think this Alabama team's going to be very good. Though I admit right now, Luke, we're not anywhere close to what we think will happen this season, and I don't want to say so until maybe right before August 1st. But I'm going to pick Alabama to make the playoff. And,
me too.
And do well.
This reeks of, you can't make fun of our pledges, only we can make fun of our pledges. It's what it reeks of. But that's okay. Speaking of the playoff,
it does.
Again, this is what's great about this new playoff thing. You and I have talked about, we don't like the expanded playoff, but it's here, so we got to live with it. So I'm not going to poo-poo it anymore, right?
I'm embracing it, because what choice do I have?
Exactly. So, okay. Here's what's great about it. So now you have even more to write about during the year. Instead of just picking 4 teams that you think will make the playoff, you get 12. And because of that, on the offshoot of that is, after you do your post-spring rankings, you can say, here's what the playoff would look like. And the playoff obviously is not going to go just, the 1 through 4 get buys and then 5 play 12, et cetera, because some of the seedings will change based on who wins the various conferences. So in Dennis Dodd's top 25, you have Georgia 1, then Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Bama, Ole Miss, Missouri, Notre Dame, et cetera. So you would think, using logic, Alabama would be 5 versus 12, but they won't. They'll be number 7 in this playoff scenario. And this is kind of fun. So the first round would be Oregon against Boise State. I mean, first of all, I yearn for a time when we can just say, can we quit pretending Boise State deserves to be in this? Boise State or anybody like them, number 1. Okay.
I've heard that's going to be the first controversy. I mean, there's going to be controversy, right? Year 1, it will be exactly that, Luke. I think there will be a team excluded who's clearly better than the group of 5 team that got gifted a spot. That will be controversy number 1. But I like Oregon to beat Boise in that first round game, which would be cool because it'll be on campus at Allison Stadium, at Oregon.
Yeah, that would be cool. Now, look, I'm going to go ahead and tell everybody about Game Time, and then we're going to talk about the rest of these. And then we're also going to talk about potentially rosters being reduced. I am going to tell you about Game Time, though. Look, Game Time is one of those live reads I have that I don't have to look at it. I do because they mandate I read some of this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and do that part first, and then I'm going to tell you what I know about Game Time, because I think it's better than what they've written. Look, you need to go check out Game Time because you want to take the guesswork out of buying tickets for anything, but specifically NBA right now. That's sort of the thing anybody's down with. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first order. This code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word. You can spell it. I believe in you using the Game Time app. and get $20 off. I've used Gametime a gazillion times myself. NBA games, college basketball games, various college basketball games, not just Bama. World Series game, NFL, college football. Again, not just Bama. Used it for other stuff. I'm using it for a concert for my daughter to go see Pitbull. That is borderline child abuse, but she is begging to go. I don't understand it. I don't understand the infatuation with this man, but I'm using Gametime, and Gametime's going to happen. Gametime even helped me so much. Yeah, when I plugged it in, I was like, I'm looking for Pitbull. They were like, "Are you sure?" But Gametime was like, "Look, we're here to serve, but we just want to make sure you're on the whatever." But anyway, go check out Gametime. You're going to love it. Go get that app. It's so easy to use. A Jimmy Stein can use it. A Luke Robinson can use it. I promise you, we are good at using this app. We are good at no other app out there ever. So go check out Gametime. Use Locked On College for $20 off that first order, and thank me later in the DMs. Okay, so next on the list of this projected playoff, and again, this is just fun stuff for me. We're in the summertime, kind of, so y'all bear with me. Would be fun. Texas against Penn State. Okay, I dig that. It's kind of fun.
It. Texas is the home team, I guess, in this scenario.
Texas is the home team in this scenario. And let me go back and say this. Here's what really pisses me off. And I don't know if I can say that word, PISSES. I've done it twice this podcast, so I'm going to watch it. But, okay, what makes me mad is Boise State is the 12 seed, right? See, if you don't have to, like, pity party a group of 5 team in there like Boise State, it'd be Oregon LSU in this scenario. That's so much better. That's 100 times better.
It really is. I'm not sure who's going to win that game, but I'm really confident Oregon's going to beat Boise by 10 or 12. Boise's won those type games before, but I don't think Boise's as good as they used to be. Yep.
Just do that. Quit throwing bones to teams that don't deserve it. And I'm sorry if you're a Boise State fan listening to this. You don't play the same game. Hey, Sonny Dykes just said.
You know what the rules should be? For the group of 5 team, for there to be an automatic group of 5 qualifier, you have to be in the top 25. That should be a rule. I mean, I get why it's difficult for a group of 5 team to be ranked super high. I get that. So I don't know about that, but you just shouldn't have a group of 5 no matter what.
Okay.
I mean, having a group of 5 no matter what is just reeks of a team that doesn't deserve to be there taking a spot from someone who does. If they're a top 20 type team, I sort of get it.
Look, I'm just tired of, this is like the No Child Left Behind of college football. I mean, it's not the intent is good, but in reality, it just doesn't work right. Doesn't.
Like our caveat should be, okay, group of 5 team, but you got to be compromised top 20. And if you're in the top 20, you got your spot. But if you're not top 20, you shouldn't take a spot from someone who's
that's the problem.
Because some years the best group of 5 team might be 9-3.
Exactly. You know? Okay. So we get Oregon.
I got Texas over Penn State. Texas will beat Penn State, I think. But here's one amazing thing. I wish I had the numbers in front of me because they're so interesting about James Franklin at Penn State. And see, I'm impressed by this. Others use it to go, see, I told you this guy stinks. James Franklin at Penn State is something like 1-16 against top 10 teams. They just do not beat top 10 teams.
That James one impresses you?
Well, this is what impresses
me. He ain't 0-17.
Against anyone outside the top 10, he's like 84-2. Okay, so it's almost like they're the most quintessential number 11 team. They're number 11. Just put them in there at 11, and it's pretty good to be number 11 every single season. But that's where they are. But anyway, they'll lose to Texas in Austin. Those first round games kind of fun again. On campuses is tough.
Here's where it gets fun again. Bama hosts Notre Dame.
Goodness gracious, and Bryant Denny Stadium, huh?
Mother Earth. That
I just
it
looked
would
to my
shake
left
every.
because I looked at Bryant-Denny Stadium because I didn't see it up. I just looked at Bryant-Denny Stadium right when you said it because Bryant-Denny hosting Notre Dame for a playoff game, the tickets would be
Out of
man, they're going
bounds.
to go
Out of bounds.
$1,000, maybe
Yeah.
500, 800.
Easy. And then Ole Miss, Missouri. Okay. It's not this. I'll tell you, I love the matchup because these are the
Yeah.
two teams that a lot of people are picking over Bama, by the way, in this year. And I think that could be fun. It's not the sexiest name matchup, but I think it's fun. Now, so what
I
that
would
would
take
mean,
whoever's playing at home. With myself right now, as we sit here, who's going to win
that'd
that
be Ole
game?
Miss.
I would pick Ole Miss at Oxford, and I would pick Missouri and Como.
Holy bananas.
Boy, that was the StubHub people wanting my Alabama Notre Dame. The StubHub, they're excited about this Alabama Notre Dame matchup. That would be the game of the first round, too.
Oh, it would be. Okay. So let's move on to the second round really quickly. And then I want to talk about roster reduction potentially. And again, this is all just made up fun stuff. And when we all get our new PlayStation games, do we still do PlayStation? Whatever game it is with the college
I haven't
football.
played a game like that since Atari, and I'm not even kidding.
I know. Jimmy's doing this podcast on a Commodore 64. So
I seriously have not played a video game on a television, on my TV or a monitor since Atari in probably 84.
You should have a shirt that says Jimmy Stein Pong Champion 1982. Okay.
I could play the heck out of some Pong. I was actually really good, but go ahead.
All right. So the quarterfinals, it'd be Georgia in the Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss or Missouri. The Rose Bowl would be Ohio State against Bama or Notre Dame. The Fiesta would be Utah. In this scenario, Utah wins the Big 12, and they play in the Fiesta against Texas or Penn State. And the Peach is Clemson, who would win the ACC in this scenario against Oregon or Boise State. I got to tell you, that's fun.
We drew the short straw playing Ohio State in the Rose Bowl.
God. But the storylines write themselves. The whole Caleb Downs meets Bama again. The whole Quinshaw Judkins gets to go against Bama again. He said,
being honest, I'll say I don't know that we would win that game.
Oh, I know. I would pick us to not win it right now. Yeah, by the time I got there, I'd be 100% convinced we are going to win.
Well, if we get there, then I'm going to be convinced that we're pretty good. If we're there, I'm just saying that that'll be fascinating. But boy, what a tough! You get Notre Dame, and then you got to go play Ohio State. This playoff, whoever wins the playoff's going to earn it. No doubt about it.
Yep. All right. We do want to talk about Babalola and DeBose because they have some interesting remarks about Bama here recently, and Antonio Coleman. I also misspelled targeted, I see there to the right, but I don't care. But how about this, Jimmy? There's talk, and this comes from Ross Dellinger, who's pretty credible. I mean, he's not pretty credible. He's very credible. He's saying that, look, he believes that eventually NCAA rosters will be cut down to 85. And you're like, oh, it's already 85. No, 85 total, including whatever walk-ons, including whatever you have.
No more walk. Basically, just means no more walk-ons. Everyone's on scholarship, but you can only have 85.
And again, this is kind of what we all wanted in a sense. I mean, you can't pay the players, still have 115. You won't even have 80. I'd make a prediction right now. There won't be 85. You can't afford to do that. You just won't be able to afford it. There are too many teams, and there's too much out there, and there's too much travel expense. There's too much everything. And I don't think you're going to be able to do it this way. And 85, you think about the walk-ons that have come through Alabama recently or Clemson. I mean, one of the more hated players in Alabama lore is Hunter Renfrow, who started out as a walk-on.
Yeah.
You know, we've had defensive backs that have gone on to play in the pros that were walk-ons. I mean,
Rashad Johnson, Levi Wallace, two famous Alabama walk-ons who had long NFL careers.
Those are the very two I was thinking of. And I'm just saying, you know, walk-ons are such a huge part of college football in general, college football history. That is saddening to me because walk-on – think about basketball walk-ons. I know a basketball walk-on. Well, I know of a basketball walk-on from kind of this area right now for Alabama. And, you know, you think about some of these other guys that I know that have walked on at Alabama that I've played with in the past at pickup games. Jason Reese, shoot, he walked on at Alabama, and he goes and tears it up every time he plays pickup anywhere still. I mean, he's sort of a legend in that way. He still has one of the best dunks in Alabama history when he basically
At Auburn.
rode the face of one dude from Auburn for
I remember.
about 5 good seconds. There's got to be a better way to say that.
Yeah.
But
Jason wants a better way for you to say that.
well, it's really not embarrassing to Jason. It's embarrassing to us. Jason's like, hey, y'all don't say nothing. Y'all don't say nothing. I won't say nothing. So that part is scary to me. So that's just something for you to mull over. We won't get into that anymore. We'll find out more about that as we come. I do want to talk some recruiting when we come back. But I'm going to tell you about Monopoly Go right now, because Monopoly Go, all right, podcast off for a second. Not literally, just this part of the podcast. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You've already talked about that. But there's just so much good stuff in this game. It's so much fun. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you can work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. There's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious. Emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. All kind of fun stuff. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every single day. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it for free on the Google Play or the App Store. Okay, game back on. So there was some news again from your cohorts over at BOL. Andrew Babalola, I think that's how you say it.
I go with Babalola.
I think that's right, by the way.
Kansas kid, if I remember right.
Yeah. Looks like a really good player. And I'm excited. I don't know necessarily that I would say Alabama is leading or anything, but they seem to have more of a shot than I thought they did just a little bit ago.
I think a serious player. I'd say a serious player for Babalola. I don't think at BOL we're ready anywhere near an RPM, prediction for him. But Alabama, a serious player and very possible. We're recruiting that position really well, Luke. I think it's a combination of a couple things. Number one, Alabama's recent history with offensive linemen in the NFL is outstanding. Now throw in Washington's offensive line. I mean, they had a tackle that went in the first round. The other tackle went high in the draft. Brailsford was, all Pac-12 as a freshman. They won the Joe Moore Award. When you add up what DeBoer did at Washington with the offensive line and what Alabama has done in recent history, I think those two things together, and it's a good year for offensive line. There's a lot of good targets out there. Babalola is just one of them. That's very possible. By the way, Andrew Bone we discussed this just yesterday. Bone says, 3 to 4 in terms of how many offensive linemen, probably maybe 3. And if they get the right guy, 4. Probably won't sign too many. Alabama's a little short on numbers there, but you're not losing. You're losing Tyler Booker. He'll head to the NFL after this season. And very possibly Jaden Roberts could head to the NFL after this season. So really only losing 2 guys. So they'll sign 3, maybe 4. And you also have the transfer portal if you end up short. But I would say Babalola is a strong possibility. Good player. Definitely top 100, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. He's like a 5-star on most sites. And then there's Mika DeBose. He was back at Alabama, and boy, that saga just continues to go round and round like a donut. And you don't know where he's going to end up. And in fact, it seems like Ohio State's pushing right now, which is a little bizarre because it feels Ohio State. And let's not forget, this guy was committed to Georgia.
And then he's almost been committed to Auburn and LSU too. I mean, and Alabama. I would say right now, it's Ohio State or Alabama, and I would give a nod to Alabama right now. And I'm going to be excited. I mean, I think we talked about Micah DeBose quite a bit on the show. I think he's made this crazy circuitous route from initially being overrated to now he's underrated. I think everyone realized after a further deep dive, like, well, this guy's really good, but he shouldn't be 5-star top 50. And I agree with that. But I think he dropped too much. I mean, look, if you've been committed to Georgia, which meant at one point anyway, Georgia was like, we want this guy. That's why he's committed there. And now you can commit to Ohio State or Alabama. You've got to be national top one. How many players in the country, Luke, could go to Georgia, Ohio State, or Alabama? Less than 100 for sure. That could go to any of the three. So he's a national top 100 player to be for sure. Michael Carroll's another guy I would watch. That's On3 loves him. By the way, there's a huge ratings disparity. On3 says Michael Carroll is like a 5-star. He ain't even on the top 300. A couple other sites. So watch Michael Carroll's rankings throughout the rest of this cycle. That'll be fascinating. But On3's been all over Michael Carroll. On3 thinks he's good. So does Alabama.
Then, of course, there's Antonio Coleman, who updated his recruitment, and it seems like for all the world, he is officially locked in. Now, of course, he was committed to Alabama, flipped to Auburn, flipped back to Bama. It feels like this is pretty locked in. So I think we can all say, okay, you don't want to quit recruiting. You never, sort of like you never quit dating your wife. You just do it with a lot of contempt. I'm sorry. I hope my wife's not listening.
Thankfully, they've never watched the show or never would.
My wife still thinks this is the dumbest thing I do.
Is she wrong?
She's not wrong. She's not wrong.
Everybody agrees.
Overall, she thinks I'm pretty dumb, but like of all the dumb stuff, this is anyway. Yeah.
She always says stuff when you're going upstairs. She's like, "Oh, are you going to play with Jimmy? Are you and Jimmy playing again?"
Have you been listening to our Alexa or something? That's exactly what she. All right. So, but you still want to keep up with him and keep, pushing that boulder up the hill. But meanwhile, Alabama has gotten some crystal ball projections from a pretty big deal defensive back out of California that everybody assumed was going somewhere else.
Dijon Lee, where I've come up with the unique nickname Mustard. I'm sure no one's come up
with
it.
No. We've nixed that. We have told you.
It's just too obvious. It's too obvious.
It will not work.
Okay.
It only works if his
last name is
Mustard.
Lee. Do they still make Lee jeans? Am I too old?
Call him Buddy. Wasn't there Buddy Lee, the little doll?
Okay. Well, I'm just saying let's come up with a nickname for Lee, and since Dijon is just too obvious. Well, anyway, he is Alabama's in a strong position for him, which is a little surprising. Based on, this is what one of the top players in California. Alabama actually leads for the very number one prospect in California, Jackson Lloyd, who's also gotten some. I think Steve Wiltfong with On3 recently projected Jackson Lloyd to sign with Alabama. Wiltfong's one of the best in the business. You should follow him on Twitter if you don't already. Wiltfong knows his stuff. And Jackson Lloyd is probably the number one prospect in California. Dijon Lee would be up there for Alabama to be doing this well in California. I tell you what speaks highly of. We've had different coaches, Luke, through the years that's recruited California really well. Tosh Lupoy dominated California for Alabama. Then Sark recruited California really well for Alabama, including Bryce Young. But I'll tell you right now, I give all the credit to Courtney Morgan, GM, Godfather, Courtney Morgan. I think, he's been recruiting all these guys for Washington and now, those West Coast guys. So Jackson Lloyd and Dijon Lee signed with Alabama. That would be quite the California duo.
Got to give them that California love, Jimmy. Okay. We're going to call it quits right here. We'll be back soon. Jimmy's very famous roster countdown is beginning. We will get into that next week, maybe this weekend. We'll see how it goes. Jimmy, are you going to the baseball game tonight?
I am going to Alabama baseball at 6 p.m. Tonight, and I also plan on going to the Sunday afternoon game. Also, Friday night and Sunday afternoon. Yeah, it should be fun.
It only makes sense. A guy like you would be doing something like that on Mother's Day because you are a mother. So, all All right. Happy Mother's Day to everybody who is a mother out there or has a mother. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.